Hello there. Tonight we'll step into a world where the air itself hums with secrets. A world where the ordinary edges of a quiet evening begin to soften and blur. Imagine a path, not unlike the one you might walk near your own home. But as the twilight deepens, this path starts to glow with a gentle, inviting light, drawing you deeper into the hushed embrace of the woods. The leaves on the ancient willow trees lining its sides seem to whisper stories of old, their branches swaying in a breeze that carries the scent of damp earth and something sweet, like faint, distant blossoms. Before you settle in comfortably, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below with your location and what time it is where you are. You'll see just how many others are awake with you tonight. You're not alone in the dark. Now dim the lights, climb into bed, pull the blanket up, release all tension, and let go of every thought. Just focus on tonight's journey. Tonight, our journey begins on such a path, bathed in the soft, fading light of a summer evening. The air is still and warm, carrying the lingering warmth of the day, but with a freshness that speaks of the approaching night. I find myself strolling along a familiar route, one I've walked countless times, where the tall oaks and maples cast long, dancing shadows as the sun dips below the horizon. The sounds of the day are slowly receding, replaced by the gentle chorus of crickets beginning their nightly song, a steady, rhythmic hum that lulls the world into a peaceful state. Each step I take feels lighter, as if the ground itself is cushioning my movement, urging me to slow down, to breathe deeply. As the last sliver of orange fades from the sky, a subtle change begins to unfold around me. The familiar path, usually just a ribbon of packed earth and scattered pebbles, starts to shimmer. It's not a bright, startling light, but a soft internal luminescence, as if the very dust motes suspended in the air have decided to hold on to the day's last light and reflect it back with a gentle pulse. This glow, initially just a faint suggestion, grows steadily, illuminating the path ahead with a soft, ethereal gleam. It's an inviting light, one that doesn't demand attention, but rather draws it, like a hushed secret being gently unveiled. The trees, which moments ago seemed solid and unyielding, now appear to breathe with the light, their leaves catching the soft glow and seeming to hum. There's a particular set of willows, old and grand, whose branches droop almost to the ground, forming a sort of natural archway. These willows, usually just quiet sentinels, seem to beckon tonight. Their long, slender leaves, usually a muted green, now reflect the path's soft luminescence, creating a shimmering curtain that seems to ripple and part, as if inviting me deeper. A soft, almost imperceptible breeze sighs through their branches, a sound like whispered words, too faint to distinguish, but clear enough to convey a sense of gentle welcome. My steps become even slower, each footfall deliberate and unhurried. The world around me seems to quiet further, as if even the crickets have lowered their volume to listen to the unfolding magic. I feel a growing sense of wonder, a quiet anticipation that tickles the edges of my mind. There's no fear, only a deep, abiding curiosity, a feeling of being gently pulled towards something beautiful and unknown. It's the sensation of discovering a forgotten path in a dream, one that promises only serenity and quiet delight. The air around the glowing path feels different too, cooler perhaps, but not cold. It carries an elusive scent, not the earthy smell of the woods I've grown accustomed to, but something faintly sweet, like a flower that blooms only under the softest moonlight, or perhaps like the memory of a summer rain on sun-warmed stones. This fragrance is subtle, not overpowering, but it deepens the sense of enchantment, weaving itself into the luminous tapestry of the evening. It's the kind of scent that you breathe in deeply, trying to identify it, but then simply let yourself be enveloped by its gentle mystery. As I continue to follow the path, it narrows slightly, becoming more intimate, more cocooning. The trees seem to lean in, their branches forming a soft canopy overhead, allowing only slivers of the emerging starlight to filter through, mingling with the path's inner glow. The ground underfoot remains soft, almost springy, as if walking on a carpet of moss that has absorbed all the harshness of the world. Each leaf, each tiny fern by the path's edge seems to hold its own tiny spark of the gentle light, creating a continuous, unbroken line of soft illumination leading me further into the heart of the quiet woods. There's a feeling that I'm not merely walking, but drifting, being carried along by an unseen current of calm. All the thoughts that might have lingered from the day, the small worries, the hurried plans, the forgotten errands, begin to loosen their hold, floating away like dandelion seeds on the evening breeze. My mind feels lighter, clearer, more open to the subtle beauty that is revealing itself with each passing moment. It's as if the path itself is a gentle guide, leading me not just deeper into the woods, but deeper into a state of quiet peace. The path curves gently ahead, disappearing around a bend where the willow branches hang particularly low, almost touching the glowing ground. The light here seems to intensify slightly, a soft pulse like a gentle heartbeat, inviting me to round the bend and see what lies beyond. The whispers from the willows grow a little clearer, no longer just a sighing breeze, but a soft, rustling sound that seems to echo a comforting melody. It's a lullaby sung by the very trees, inviting me to release all tension, to simply follow where the soft light leads, and to trust that only serenity awaits. My steps are slow, unhurried, each one a release, as I allow myself to be drawn into the quiet magic of the whispering willow path. As I rounded the gentle bend in the path, where the willows truly embraced the glowing earth, the soft inner light seemed to deepen, pulsing with a steady, almost rhythmic beat. It wasn't a visible pulse, but rather a sensation, a gentle vibration felt deep within, like the quiet thrum of a distant, perfectly tuned string. This was the curious invitation, a subtle hum that wasn't heard with the ears, but felt in the very core of my being, drawing me further into the deepening quiet of the woods. It was a soundless melody, a silent call that bypassed words and spoke directly to a part of me that craved peace and gentle wonder. The air grew even softer here, if such a thing were possible. It felt like walking through warm silken threads, each one imbued with the same gentle luminescence that now permeated everything. The scent I had noticed earlier, that faint, sweet, unidentifiable aroma, intensified ever so slightly, becoming clearer, like the memory of a dream just upon waking. It was the scent of forgotten gardens, of moss-covered stones warmed by moonlight, of starlight settling on dew-kissed leaves. It was utterly calming, a perfume designed to soothe and release all tension, inviting every muscle to soften, every thought to drift. The path continued to narrow, no longer just a clear ribbon, but now interspersed with patches of emerald moss, impossibly soft and springy underfoot. Each step was a whisper, a gentle press into the yielding surface, absorbing any lingering tension from my body. The towering trees on either side were now so dense that the sky above was only visible in small, scattered glimpses, like tiny patches of deep velvet stitched with forgotten diamonds. Yet despite the increasing enclosure, there was no feeling of confinement. Instead, it felt like being gently enfolded, embraced by the ancient comforting presence of the forest. This gentle hum, this silent invitation seemed to guide me with an invisible thread. It wasn't a force, but a suggestion, a quiet nudge that made the choice to continue feel entirely my own, yet utterly inevitable. My breathing had deepened, naturally syncing with the slow, deliberate rhythm of my steps. Each inhale brought in the sweet, clean air, and each exhale released something, a tiny wisp of worry, a faint echo of the day's demands, until all that remained was the serene present moment. The world outside this glowing, humming path had simply ceased to exist. The light around me was no longer just on the path. It seemed to emanate from the very fabric of the trees, from the undersides of leaves, from tiny droplets of dew clinging to spider webs that glistened like strung pearls. It was as if the forest itself was exhaling light, a soft, warm breath that made the shadows themselves seem inviting and soft rather than dark and deep. There were no harsh contrasts, only gentle gradations of silver and deepest jade, creating a living tapestry of serene beauty. As I walked, I noticed small, delicate flowers, ones I had never seen before, unfurling their petals in the soft glow. They weren't brightly colored, but rather pale, almost translucent, seeming to be made of moonlight itself. Their petals were so fine they appeared to tremble with an inner light, catching the gentle luminescence and amplifying it in tiny, exquisite bursts. They lined the edges of the path like silent guardians, each one a testament to the hidden wonders of this enchanted place. They added to the feeling of walking through a dream, a place where nature itself held quiet magic in its deepest heart. The gentle hum seemed to weave itself into the rustling of the leaves and the distant, soft howl of a hidden owl. It wasn't a distinct sound, but rather an underlying frequency, a vibration that resonated with the peaceful quietude of the surroundings. It made the air feel alive, yet utterly tranquil. My thoughts, which had been gently drifting, now seemed to slow even further, becoming sparse, luminous points of awareness, like the tiny pale flowers along the path. There was no need to analyze, no need to understand, only to simply be, to absorb the profound stillness. The path began a very gradual incline, almost imperceptible at first, but slowly leading me upwards, deeper into the heart of this whispering forest. The trees here were older still, their trunks wide and gnarled, covered with soft velvet moss that seemed to glow with a richer, deeper green. Their branches, thick and ancient, formed an even more complete canopy, making the world above disappear almost entirely. This created a sense of entering a sacred, untouched space, a sanctuary where time itself seemed to slow to a lazy, contented crawl. The soft light intensified once more, not a sudden flash, but a slow, steady brightening, as if I were approaching a source of gentle illumination. The hum also grew subtly stronger, vibrating with a deeper, more resonant quality, like the deep, comforting tone of a very large, slow-beating drum. This was not a drum of celebration, but one of profound rest, of deep, unburdened peace. It was the sound of the earth breathing, of the universe sighing contentedly. Every fiber of my being felt entirely relaxed. The gentle, continuous invitation of the path and its subtle hum had worked their magic, dissolving away every last trace of the day's strains. My eyelids felt heavy, but pleasantly so, a soft weight that suggested comfort and ease rather than fatigue. It was the feeling of being utterly safe, completely held by the quiet beauty of this secret place. I walked on, drawn by the irresistible pull of the humming light, knowing that whatever lay ahead would be as gentle and soothing as the journey itself. The whispers of the willows, the soft scent, the glowing moss underfoot, all conspired to lull me deeper into a state of profound calm, a readiness for whatever quiet wonders this enchanted journey still held. The path curved once more, hinting at an opening, a revelation just beyond the veil of ancient trees. The path, which had gently inclined through the ancient, whispering trees, now began to level out, and the embracing canopy overhead started to thin. The light, which had been a consistent, soft glow, began to shift, becoming less about luminescence from the ground and more about an ambient shimmer in the air itself. as I took a few more soft, unhurried steps around the final bend, the trees parted like a welcoming curtain, and I found myself standing at the edge of a clearing. But this was no ordinary clearing. It was veiled in a soft, silvery mist, ethereal and translucent, swirling gently as if breathed into existence by the very air. This mist wasn't cold or damp, quite the opposite. It felt like soft-spun moonlight, warm and dry against my skin, carrying with it the faint, sweet scent that had been a gentle companion on the path. It shimmered with an inner light, catching what little starlight filtered down from the heavens and refracting it into 1,000 tiny, sparkling pinpricks that danced playfully within the veil. Looking through it, the clearing beyond seemed to waver, its edges softened and blurred, inviting me to step through a living dream. The gentle hum which had guided me now seemed to emanate from the mist itself, a deep, resonating calm that vibrated through the air. Taking a deep, unhurried breath, I stepped forward, allowing the shimmering veil to envelop me. It felt like walking through a cloud, but a cloud woven from silk and starlight. The sensation was profoundly calming, like shedding a heavy cloak of worry and stepping into a space of pure, unadulterated peace. The outside world, with its demands and distractions, simply melted away, leaving only the soft glow, the sweet scent, and the pervasive, lulling hum. Each particle of mist seemed to hold a tiny spark of light, creating a continuous, glittering expanse that stretched as far as I could see within the clearing. My vision, rather than being obscured, was subtly enhanced. The shapes of the ancient trees that ringed the clearing, their trunks gnarled and majestic, appeared as soft silhouettes, their forms softened by the mist, giving them an even more timeless quality. The ground beneath my feet remained incredibly soft, covered in what felt like a deep carpet of moss, cushioned and yielding, making every step utterly silent. It was as if the very earth here conspired to create a space of ultimate quietude. As I ventured deeper into the clearing, the mist occasionally swirled and parted, revealing glimpses of the clearing's interior. I saw what looked like ancient, moss-covered stones, arranged in a way that felt deliberate, as if they had been placed there by hands long since turned to dust, or perhaps by the forest itself. These stones, too, seemed to absorb and reflect the soft, silvery light, their surfaces smooth and cool to the touch if I were to reach out. They contributed to the sense of a deeply ancient place, a sanctuary undisturbed by the passage of time. The air itself felt thicker, imbued with a gentle energy that was invigorating and incredibly relaxing. It was the feeling of being in a truly sacred space, where every element, the light, the scent, the unseen hum, the soft ground, worked in perfect harmony to soothe and restore. My eyelids felt heavier still, a pleasant weight that spoke of a deep relaxation settling into my entire being. My thoughts had become almost entirely absent, replaced by a simple, open awareness of the beauty unfolding around me. I was simply present, a quiet observer in a quiet, luminous world. The mist continued its slow, graceful dance, parting and reforming, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow that were mesmerizing to watch. Sometimes a particularly dense swirl would pass directly through me, and for a fleeting moment I would feel an even deeper connection to the gentle hum of the clearing, as if my own essence was briefly blending with the tranquil energy of the clearing. It was a sensation of profound unity, of being utterly at one with the peaceful environment. As I moved closer to the center of the clearing, the mist thinned slightly, allowing the soft glow from the ground to become more apparent again. Here, the moss was even more vibrant, a richer emerald green that seemed to pulse with a subtle light of its own. Tiny, almost imperceptible wildflowers, pale and translucent like those on the path, dotted the moss, their delicate petals trembling in the unseen currents of the air. Each one was a miniature beacon of calm, adding to the serene beauty of the space. There was no sense of hurry, no urge to rush or to discover. The invitation of the shimmering veil was to simply exist within it, to let its gentle embrace soothe away all remnants of fatigue and stress. I found myself slowing down even further, until my pace was little more than a gentle glide, my feet barely disturbing the soft moss. It felt as if the very air was supporting me, gently propelling me deeper into the heart of this tranquil haven. The sounds of the forest outside the clearing had completely faded. All that remained was the quiet hum of the mist, the almost imperceptible rustle of the unseen air currents, and the gentle internal rhythm of my own slow breathing. It was a symphony of silence, a composition designed for profound rest and rejuvenation. I felt myself drifting, not just physically, but mentally, into a state of deep, unburdened calm. The shimmering veil was a gateway, not just to a magical clearing, but to a deeper level of peace within myself, inviting me to simply float, untethered by thought, bathed in soft, silvery light. As I continued to drift through the soft, silvery mist, the gentle hum that resonated through the clearing now seemed to weave itself into a new sensory experience. The faint, sweet scent that had accompanied me since leaving the familiar path now intensified, unfurling itself completely. It was the scent of night bloom, a fragrance so exquisite and profoundly calming that it felt less like something I was smelling and more like something I was breathing in, deeply and completely, filling every part of my being with its serene essence. This fragrance was unlike any I had ever encountered. It wasn't the sharp sweetness of jasmine, nor the heavy richness of honeysuckle. Instead, it was a delicate blend of soft vanilla, fresh rain on ancient earth, and the faint, almost imperceptible tang of distant moonlight. It was light, yet pervasive, a soft cloud of aroma that seemed to hang in the air, gently guiding me further into the heart of the mist-shrouded clearing. Each inhale brought a wave of deeper relaxation, loosening any lingering knots of tension in my shoulders, in my jaw, in my mind. The mist itself seemed to respond to this fragrance, swirling more languidly, its silver tendrils unfurling and reforming in slow-motion dances. As I moved, the air currents I created caused subtle shifts in the mist, revealing fleeting glimpses of the ground below. And there, nestled among the soft, glowing moss, were the sources of this intoxicating perfume. Small, luminous flowers, their petals unfurling in the low light like tiny porcelain bells. They weren't vibrant in color, but rather shone with an internal luminescence, their white and pale blue petals reflecting the silvery mist around them, making them appear almost translucent. These were the night blooms, opening their delicate faces only when the world settled into its deepest quiet. Their petals were soft to the eye, their forms intricate and perfect, each one a tiny masterpiece of nature's artistry. They seemed to pulse with a gentle inner light, contributing to the overall glow of the clearing, making the entire space feel like a living, breathing tapestry woven from moonlight and quiet magic. Reaching out, my fingers hovered just above their delicate forms, not daring to touch them, simply observing their ethereal beauty. The scent, now fully present, acted as a balm for my thoughts. Any lingering mental chatter, any faint echoes of the day's events were gently washed away, replaced by an expansive feeling of peace. It was as if the fragrance itself was a whispered lullaby, reminding me to let go, to simply float on the currents of calm that filled this hidden space. My breathing became even slower, deeper, each breath a conscious release, drawing in the soothing aroma and exhaling every last whisper of unease. The ground beneath my feet continued to be incredibly soft, a thick carpet of moss that absorbed all sound, making my passage utterly silent. It felt as if I were gliding rather than walking, effortlessly moving through the gentle landscape. The air, imbued with the night bloom's fragrance, felt cool and fresh against my skin, a gentle caress that further enhanced the sense of profound relaxation. My entire body felt light, unburdened, suspended in a state of tranquil weightlessness. As I drifted deeper into the clearing, the mist occasionally thinned enough to reveal glimpses of the ancient trees that formed its perimeter. Their massive trunks, cloaked in glowing emerald moss, stood like silent ancient guardians, their branches forming a protective embrace around this sacred space. They seemed to absorb the light from the night blooms and the mist, radiating a soft, diffused glow that softened their immense forms and made them appear almost as benevolent giants watching over a sleeping world. The gentle hum that drew me here now blended seamlessly with the fragrance, becoming one continuous sensation of peace. It was the feeling of being completely safe, utterly undisturbed, in a world entirely separate from the hurried pace of everyday life. This was a place where time itself seemed to pause, suspended in the gentle current of the night bloom's perfume. My eyelids felt heavier still, a comforting weight, as if they were settling into their natural state of deep rest. I found myself slowing even further, almost stopping, content to simply stand within the fragrant mist, letting its gentle embrace wash over me. The sweet, calming fragrance permeated every fiber of my being, reaching into the deepest corners of my mind and coaxing them into stillness. It was a profound release, a surrender to the overwhelming sense of peace that saturated the air. The delicate night blooms, unseen but powerfully felt, were working their magic, weaving a spell of tranquility that promised deep, restorative rest. The gentle pull, the invitation was no longer urgent but soft, a subtle suggestion to simply allow myself to be carried by the current of calm. The fragrance seemed to deepen around me, wrapping me in a warm, invisible blanket of serenity. I felt myself drifting, not just mentally, but physically, as if the very air itself was holding me gently aloft. This was the heart of the clearing, a place of profound stillness where the scent of night bloom guided me into an ever-deepening state of peace, preparing me for whatever quiet wonders still lay ahead in this tranquil, luminous world. The sweet, calming fragrance of the night bloom continued to fill the air, acting as an invisible hand guiding me deeper into the luminous clearing. As I drifted further, the silvery mist, while still present, began to thin just enough to reveal more of the ancient, towering trees that encircled this tranquil space. And there, amongst their gnarled branches and deep within their shadowed recesses, I began to see them. Distant, tiny lights, flickering playfully like fireflies engaged in a silent, whimsical dance. These were not the sharp, distinct blinks of ordinary fireflies, but rather softer, more diffused glows, appearing and disappearing with a gentle, slow rhythm. Some were a soft, pale gold, like captured starlight, while others pulsed with a faint, cool blue, reminiscent of the moon's own ethereal glow. They darted and hovered, weaving intricate patterns amongst the ancient boughs, never quite settling, always in graceful, flowing motion. Each flicker was a tiny whisper of light, a playful secret shared between the trees and the quiet night. My gaze followed their gentle movements, completely captivated. They seemed to be performing a slow, silent ballet, their delicate light painting fleeting strokes against the deep green and shadowy brown of the ancient bark. Some would drift down to the very edge of the shimmering mist, their light barely kissing the ethereal veil, before gently rising again, drawn back into the comforting embrace of the old trees. There was no urgency in their movements, only a timeless, effortless grace that mirrored the serene pace of the clearing itself. The presence of these tiny, dancing lights deepened the sense of enchantment that permeated the air. It felt as if I had stumbled upon a hidden world, one where light held its own quiet intelligence, where the very shadows held pockets of luminous magic. The gentle hum, ever present, seemed to swell and recede subtly with the appearance and disappearance of each light, as if it were the quiet breath of the forest itself, exhaling these tiny luminous beings into the night. I found a smooth, moss-covered stone, perfectly warmed by some unseen energy, and gently settled down upon it, not wishing to disturb the quiet ballet unfolding before me. From this vantage point, I could truly appreciate the scope of their gentle play. They were more numerous than I had first realized, scattered throughout the tree line, creating a living constellation around the clearing's perimeter. Each flicker seemed to echo a deep sense of peace, a reassurance that all was well and that the world held boundless, quiet wonders. The air remained soft and still, carrying the calming scent of night bloom, now mingled with a faint woody aroma, as if the ancient trees themselves were exhaling their long-held peace. This combination of scents, sounds, and soft, dancing lights created an immersive cocoon of tranquility, wrapping me in an invisible blanket of serenity. My eyelids grew heavier still, a profound sense of ease settling over me, the gentle weight a welcoming invitation to truly let go. Observing the distant flickering lights, my thoughts became even more diffused, more dreamlike. Each spark seemed to carry away a small fragment of awareness, until my mind was almost entirely clear, a peaceful, open space ready to absorb the quiet beauty around it. I felt a deep connection to these tiny lights, as if their playful dance was a reflection of the gentle stirs of peace within my own heart. They were a visible manifestation of the unseen magic that had been drawing me here since I first stepped onto the glowing path. Occasionally, a light would drift a little closer, illuminating a patch of particularly vibrant moss on a tree trunk, or highlighting the delicate structure of a fern before moving on. These brief illuminations revealed the intricate details of the forest, details that were usually lost in the shadows of night, but here were brought to life by the gentle, fleeting glow. It was a testament to the fact that even in the deepest quiet, there was always beauty to be found if one only took the time to slow down and truly see. The entire scene felt like a living lullaby, woven from light and scent and silent movement. The distant, tiny lights flickering playfully among the ancient trees were not just a sight to behold, they were a feeling, a profound sense of tranquility made visible. They were the heartbeat of this hidden world, a slow, steady pulse of quiet magic that invited me to sink deeper into the embrace of the night. As I watched them, my breathing grew even more shallow, more regular, naturally aligning with the soft rhythm of their dance. The allure of these glimmers in the gloom was not in their brilliance, but in their quiet persistence, their gentle presence that seemed to whisper of deeper secrets. They hinted at a world just beyond the veil of everyday perception, a world accessible only when one truly surrendered to stillness. The soft, sweet fragrance of the night bloom continued its soothing work, and the persistent, gentle hum seemed to carry the flickering lights on its silent waves. I felt myself drifting, floating, held in a perfect balance of wakefulness and profound calm, utterly absorbed by the quiet magic of the dancing lights. As I rested on the moss-covered stone, utterly absorbed by the soft, playful flicker of distant lights among the ancient trees, a new element of the clearing's quiet magic began to emerge. The sweet, calming fragrance of the night bloom seemed to subtly shift, now carrying a faint, earthy undertone, like moist stone warmed by centuries of soft sun and even softer moonlight. This nuanced scent, combined with the gentle hum that had been my constant companion, now seemed to draw my gaze towards a particular section of the encircling trees. There, nestled almost imperceptibly within the dense foliage, was a natural archway. It wasn't grand or imposing, but rather humble and organic, formed by two ancient tree trunks that had grown together over untold years, their branches intertwining to create a perfect, rounded opening. What made it truly remarkable was the way it was draped in glowing moss. This moss, unlike any I had seen before, emitted a soft, internal light, a gentle emerald green that pulsed with a slow, even rhythm. It clung to the gnarled bark of the trees, tracing the curve of the archway with an ethereal luminescence, beckoning softly. The light from the moss was unlike the fleeting flickers of the distant sprites. It was constant, warm, and inviting, a steady beacon in the soft, shimmering mist that still veiled parts of the clearing. It felt like a doorway, not just into another part of the forest, but into an even deeper layer of peace, a sanctuary within a sanctuary. There was no rush, no urgency, just an undeniable gentle pull, like a quiet breath drawing me forward. Slowly, gracefully, I rose from the mossy stone, my movements fluid and unhurried. Each step felt weightless, as if the thick carpet of moss underfoot was supporting me completely, absorbing all sound, cushioning my every movement. The air around the archway felt noticeably different, cooler perhaps, but not cold, carrying a heightened sense of anticipation, yet still wrapped in profound tranquility. It was the feeling of approaching a threshold of quiet magic, a place where the veil between the known and the wondrous was exceptionally thin. As I drew nearer, the gentle hum grew subtly stronger, resonating from the archway itself, a deep, comforting vibration that seemed to lull every fiber of my being. The glow from the moss intensified slightly, not becoming brighter, but richer, deeper, like a living emerald fire. I could see the intricate details of the moss now, its velvet texture, the tiny, almost invisible spores that shimmered with individual sparks of light. It was a testament to the incredible beauty that lay hidden within the quiet corners of the world, waiting to be discovered by those willing to slow down and truly see. The branches forming the archway were thick and ancient, their surfaces smoothed by time, their forms twisted into elegant, organic shapes. They seemed to whisper a silent welcome, their leafy embrace parting just enough to reveal the subtle path that continued beyond. There were no rough edges, no sharp corners, only gentle curves and soft textures, inviting a smooth, unhurried passage. It felt as if the very trees were inviting me to share in their ancient wisdom and profound peace. Standing before the archway, I paused for a moment, simply breathing in the sweet, earthy fragrance and absorbing the soothing green light. My mind felt completely clear, unburdened by any thoughts or concerns. It was a state of pure, open awareness, ready to receive whatever quiet wonders awaited me on the other side. The distant, playful glimmers of light among the trees seemed to nod in approval, their soft presence a quiet encouragement. The path through the archway was covered in the same soft, glowing moss that draped the trees, creating a continuous carpet of emerald light. It was an invitation to continue the journey deeper, to discover what lay at the heart of this enchanted forest. There was no need to question, no need to hurry, only to surrender to the gentle pull of the light and the promise of deeper tranquility. With a final gentle breath, I stepped beneath the glowing archway. The air immediately changed, becoming even more still, more profoundly quiet. The mist, while still present, thinned significantly, allowing a clearer view of the space beyond. It felt like crossing an invisible boundary, stepping from one dream into another, even more profound one. The moss underfoot was exceptionally soft, almost yielding, as if walking on a cushion of pure light. The archway seemed to close gently behind me, not physically, but perceptually, as the mist swirled once more, obscuring the clearing I had just left. I was now truly within a new space, deeper within the heart of this magical realm, guided by the constant glowing moss that lined the narrow path ahead. The feeling of safety and profound peace deepened even further, wrapping around me like a warm, comforting blanket, inviting me to sink deeper into the quietude of the night. Passing beneath the glowing, moss-draped archway, I found the air around me shift once more, becoming incredibly still, almost reverent. The narrow path, still cushioned by the soft emerald moss, continued for only a few more steps, gently winding deeper into what felt like the very heart of the earth. The light from the moss intensified, becoming the sole illumination, painting the immediate surroundings in a rich, soothing green. There was no sense of enclosure, but rather a feeling of being gently enveloped, drawn into a profound silence. Then the path widened abruptly, and the sense of space expanded dramatically. I had stepped into a serene, cavernous space, vast yet intimate, a hidden chamber carved by nature itself over eons. And truly, it was bathed in moonlight. Not harsh, direct moonlight, but a soft, diffused glow that seemed to emanate from within the grotto itself, as if the moon had chosen this very spot to cast its most tender and ethereal light. The light was silver blue, mingling with the deep emerald glow of the moss that still clung to the grotto's walls and ceiling in delicate, glowing veins. The scale of the grotto was breathtaking, yet utterly calming. The ceiling arched high above, disappearing into soft shadow in some places, while in others, veins of glowing moss created shimmering constellations. Stalactites, smooth and ancient, hung like silent sentinels, catching the moonglow and diffusing it further, adding to the gentle luminescence of the space. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the lingering sweet scent of night bloom, now mingled with a faint, clean mineral aroma like cool, damp stone in a sunlit cave. Beneath my feet, the ground continued to be covered in an impossibly soft, thick carpet of vibrant green moss, making every movement silent and weightless. It was as if I were floating on a luminous, living floor. This moss glowed with an even deeper, richer green here, pulsing softly in harmony with the gentle moonlight that filled the space. It felt like walking on a cloud, a sensation that dissolved any remaining trace of tension from my body. The grotto walls rose majestically around me, their surfaces smooth and undulating, sculpted by the slow dance of water and time. They were adorned with patches of glowing moss, creating natural patterns that shimmered with soft light. In some areas, delicate crystal-like formations glistened with a faint inner sparkle, catching the ambient moonlight and reflecting it in tiny, exquisite rainbows that danced on the cavern walls for fleeting moments. It was a place of quiet artistry where every element seemed to contribute to an overwhelming sense of peace. My gaze drifted slowly around the cavern, taking in the serene beauty of the space. There was a profound stillness here, a silence so deep it felt almost audible, a resonant quiet that spoke of ancient wisdom and undisturbed tranquility. The gentle hum that had been my guide felt amplified in this space, a deep, comforting vibration that resonated through the very stones of the grotto and through my own being. It was the sound of utter contentment, of the world at rest. In the center of the grotto, the moonlight seemed to gather and intensify, creating a pool of liquid silver on the mossy floor. This wasn't water, but pure, concentrated light, swirling slowly, drawing the eye to its tranquil depths. It shimmered and pulsed, reflecting the subtle shifts in the grotto's atmosphere, a living mirror of the moon's gentle presence. It was utterly mesmerizing, an anchor of quiet contemplation in the vastness of the space. As I stood there bathed in the soft, diffused moonlight, I felt every last particle of stress, every fleeting worry simply melt away. It was as if the grotto itself was breathing, inhaling all discomfort and exhaling pure, restorative calm. My eyelids felt heavy, but pleasantly so, a soft weight that encouraged my gaze to linger on the gentle play of light and shadow, to simply absorb the profound peace of the moment. My breathing had become incredibly slow and deep, a natural rhythm that perfectly matched the tranquil pulse of the grotto. It was a place of deep rest, for quiet contemplation, for the unburdening of the mind and spirit. The air itself felt like a lullaby, cool and clean, carrying the calming sense and the gentle hum that resonated through the silent, moonlit chamber. Having stepped fully into the grotto, I was now enveloped by the pure, unadulterated essence of moonlight's embrace. It wasn't just light. It was a tangible presence, a soft, cool caress against my skin, a gentle breath that filled the vast, serene space. This moonlight was unlike anything I had ever witnessed filtering through a window or casting shadows in a garden. Here, within the grotto, it seemed to be alive, a living, breathing entity that interacted with every surface, every shadow, every particle of air. The most striking interaction was with the grotto's surfaces. The smooth, undulating walls, sculpted by eons of water and time, caught the silvery blue glow and diffused it, creating an endless play of soft luminosity. Where the light touched a rounded curve, it seemed to soften and expand, creating areas of exquisite luminescence. Where it met a gentle indentation, it deepened the shadows into pools of velvet, creating a soothing contrast that guided my eyes without demanding focus. It was a visual lullaby, each shift in light and shadow a gentle stroke on a canvas of peace. The glowing moss, which had guided me through the archway and carpeted the grotto floor, seemed to absorb the moonlight and then exhale its own deeper emerald radiance. The two lights, the cool, ethereal silver of the moon and the warm, living green of the moss, intertwined seamlessly, creating a unique spectrum of tranquil color. This blend of lights painted the grotto in hues of deep aquamarine, soft jade, and shimmering platinum, a palette designed to soothe the senses and quiet the mind. Above me, the high arched ceiling of the grotto was a masterpiece of this interplay. The hanging stalactites, smooth and ancient, seemed to drink in the moonlight, becoming translucent pillars of soft light. Drops of water, suspended at their tips, glistened with an inner glow, each a tiny, perfect sphere reflecting the entire moonlit cavern in miniature, before slowly, almost imperceptibly, falling into unseen pools below, with a sound so soft it was more felt than heard. In the very center, the pool of liquid silver light, which I had noticed upon entering, seemed to be the heart of this moonlit embrace. It wasn't a static reflection, but a dynamic, living entity. The moonlight descended upon it, not just shining on it, but seeming to merge into it, causing gentle ripples of light to spread outwards across its surface. It shimmered with an incredible depth, revealing fleeting patterns of light that flowed and reformed, like a slow, hypnotic dance. Watching it, my mind felt drawn into its serene stillness, all scattered thoughts dissolving into its luminous depths. The air itself felt thick with the moonlight, as if I were breathing in pure serenity. Each inhale drew in the cool, fresh air, imbued with the sweet, clean scent of the night blooms and the ancient stone, now laced with the very essence of moonlight. Each exhale released any remaining vestiges of tension, allowing me to sink deeper into the profound calm that permeated every inch of this space. My body felt incredibly light, almost weightless, as if suspended within the moonlit air itself. There was a profound silence within the grotto, a silence that was not empty, but full of the gentle hum, full of the soft rustle of invisible air currents, and most of all, full of the moon's silent, encompassing embrace. This silence was deeply comforting, a profound counterpoint to the hurried noises of the outside world. It allowed every other sense to heighten, making the visual dance of the moonlight and the subtle fragrances even more deeply felt. I found myself drifting slowly towards the central pool of liquid moonlight, drawn by an irresistible, gentle pull. My steps were deliberate, unhurried, each one a mindful movement into deeper tranquility. As I neared the glowing pool, the moon's embrace seemed to intensify, wrapping around me more completely, dissolving the boundary between myself and the serene environment. It was a feeling of profound belonging, of being utterly at peace in a space designed for ultimate rest. This interaction of moonlight with the grotto was a masterclass in quiet beauty. It wasn't about drama or spectacle, but about subtlety, about the quiet power of light to transform and soothe. Every surface, every curve, every shadow became part of this serene symphony of light, drawing me deeper and deeper into a state of profound relaxation. My eyelids felt heavier still, my gaze softly blurred, yet perfectly focused on the luminous beauty unfolding before me. The grotto, under the moon's gentle and pervasive embrace, was no longer just a physical space. It was a feeling, a state of being. It was the feeling of being completely unburdened, utterly at ease, floating in a sea of soft silver and emerald light. All thoughts of time, of worries, of responsibilities had melted away, leaving only the tranquil presence of the moonlit grotto, inviting me to surrender fully to its profound, encompassing calm. As I stood entranced within the grotto, completely immersed in the moonlight's embrace, my gaze softly fixed on the central pool of liquid silver light, a subtle shift occurred at the periphery of my vision. It wasn't a sudden movement, but a delicate unfurling, a gentle coalescing of the shimmering mist and the ambient light near the far wall of the cavern. And then, from this gentle swirl, the first sprite appeared. It was a soft, ethereal presence, a tiny, luminous form that seemed to be woven from the very fabric of moonlight and mist. It wasn't a creature with distinct features, but rather a shimmering outline, vaguely humanoid, perhaps no larger than a child's hand. Its form was translucent, allowing the soft glow of the grotto walls to show through it, making it seem like a living sculpture of pure light. The edges of its form blurred softly, as if it were constantly dissolving and reforming, a beautiful ephemeral dance of light and air. Its light was a pale, pearlescent white, with faint hints of silver and blue, echoing the moonglow that filled the grotto. The sprite hovered in the air with an effortless grace, its movements so subtle they were almost imperceptible, a gentle undulation like a feather caught in the softest current. There was no sound accompanying its appearance, no rustle, no whisper, only an intensification of the profound silence that already permeated the grotto. Yet its presence was undeniable, filling the space with a heightened sense of quiet wonder and delicate magic. My breath caught, not in surprise or alarm, but in a quiet, held awe. Every part of me felt utterly still, completely captivated by this delicate, luminous being. My eyelids, already heavy, felt even more so, yet my gaze remained fixed, absorbing every nuanced flicker of its ethereal form. It radiated an immense sense of peace, a quiet serenity that seemed to flow outwards, enveloping me in an even deeper layer of calm. The sprite began to move, not flying, but rather gliding, its path tracing soft, arcing motions through the moonlit air. It drifted towards a cluster of glowing moss on the cavern wall, its soft light seeming to interact with the emerald glow, making it pulse slightly in gentle recognition. Then it would glide away towards a hanging stalactite, seeming to brush against its ancient surface, leaving a faint, lingering shimmer of its own light behind. Its movements were unhurried, a living meditation, each one a testament to effortless grace. The scent of night bloom seemed to deepen around me, as if in silent acknowledgement of the sprite's presence. The gentle hum that filled the grotto also seemed to resonate with the sprite's movements, becoming a soft internal melody that played in perfect harmony with its silent dance. It was a symphony of quiet sensations, all contributing to an overwhelming feeling of profound peace and gentle magic. There was no sense of threat or even curiosity from the sprite. It simply existed, a beautiful, luminous presence within its moonlit domain. It moved without purpose, without direction, simply being. And in its being, it conveyed an immense sense of ancient calm. Observing it, I felt my own mind quiet even further, all vestiges of analytical thought dissolving into the serene moment. There was only pure observation, a gentle absorption of beauty. Occasionally the sprite would pause, hovering perfectly still, its pearlescent light becoming slightly more intense, like a tiny captured star. During these moments, the grotto felt even more profoundly silent, as if the very air held its breath in reverence. Then, with an almost imperceptible flutter, it would continue its soft, meandering path, exploring the contours of the grotto with delicate, luminous grace. The presence of this soft, ethereal presence deepened the magic of the grotto exponentially. It was not just a beautiful cavern filled with moonlight. It was a living, breathing realm where unseen wonders manifested in the gentlest of ways. The sprite was a silent guide, demonstrating the profound peace that could be found when one truly surrendered to the stillness of the night. It felt as if this little being was whispering secrets of ancient calm, secrets that could only be understood not through words, but through the deep quiet of the heart. My breathing became even shallower, more regular, naturally synchronizing with the slow, graceful movements of the sprite. My body felt profoundly relaxed, every muscle loosened, every joint at ease. I was simply floating in a sea of soft light and gentle presence, my consciousness gently drifting on the quiet currents of the grotto. The first sprite, with its ethereal light and silent grace, was an undeniable invitation to sink deeper into the tranquility that now enveloped me completely. As the first ethereal sprite continued its gentle, luminous drifts through the moonlit grotto, more began to appear. They emerged from the shimmering mist near the walls, coalescing from the very air, or seemed to unfold from the deep emerald glow of the moss, until the cavern was gracefully populated by a dozen or more of these delicate, translucent beings. Each was a soft, pearlescent glow, a living spark of moonlight, and their collective presence intensified the profound sense of peace that filled the space. And then they began their dance. It was not a vigorous or energetic dance, but a series of gentle, flowing movements, so fluid and graceful they seemed to defy gravity itself. The sprites moved without effort, their forms drifting and turning in intricate, unhurried patterns. They spiraled upwards towards the high-arched ceiling, their light tracing faint, shimmering trails against the stone, before gently descending in slow, deliberate curves. Some would meet in the air, their luminous forms briefly mingling, creating a soft double glow, before separating and continuing their individual meandering paths. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, not by design, but by an inherent harmony, like snowflakes drifting in a silent moonlit breeze. There was no leader, no specific choreography. Each sprite seemed to instinctively know its place in the gentle ballet. They wove through the stalactites, around the luminous moss formations, and above the central pool of liquid silver light, creating a living tapestry of soft, dancing illumination. It was a spectacle of pure, unadulterated serenity, a visual poem of effortless grace. My gaze followed their every movement, completely mesmerized. My eyelids felt delightfully heavy, my vision softened, yet perfectly attuned to the delicate beauty unfolding before me. The persistent, gentle hum that resonated through the grotto seemed to swell and recede in perfect accord with their dance, becoming a silent symphony, a deeply soothing vibration that permeated every cell of my body. The air, still carrying the sweet, clean scent of night bloom and ancient stone, felt like a soft, invisible current upon which these luminous beings floated. There was a profound sense of timelessness in their dance. It felt as though this gentle performance had been unfolding for millennia and would continue for millennia more. A quiet secret held within the heart of the earth. Watching them, all sense of external time completely dissolved. The hurried pace of the world, the demands of the clock, simply ceased to exist. There was only this moment, this breath, this soft, flowing dance of moonlight and spirit. The sprites would sometimes drift very close, their pearlescent glow casting delicate, fleeting shadows on the mossy floor, or briefly illuminating the intricate veins of glowing moss on the cavern walls. In these moments, their light seemed to interact with the grotto's inherent luminescence, creating tiny, shimmering explosions of soft color, deeper emeralds and brighter silvers. It was a subtle, beautiful dialogue between the living light of the sprites and the ancient light of the grotto itself. I remained still on my moss-covered stone, completely absorbed. My breathing had settled into an incredibly slow, deep, and even rhythm, mirroring the unhurried grace of the sprites' movements. Each inhale felt like breathing in more of the grotto's profound calm, and each exhale released any remaining vestiges of tension, allowing me to sink deeper into the embrace of quietude. My body felt utterly relaxed, light and unburdened, as if floating in the moonlit air alongside the sprites. The visual experience of their dance was immensely soothing. The lack of sharp edges, the continuous flowing nature of their movements, and the soft, diffused light they emitted, all conspired to quiet the mind. There was no need to interpret, no need to analyze, only to simply observe, and allow the profound sense of peace to wash over me. It was a gentle invitation to let go of all conscious thought, to simply drift on the currents of calm. The silence of the grotto, broken only by the almost imperceptible hum and the softest echoes of my own gentle breathing, enhanced the visual spectacle. The sprites danced within this cocoon of quietude, their flowing movements weaving a spell of deep relaxation. They were a living manifestation of serenity, their forms pure light and graceful motion, inviting me to join them in their timeless, tranquil state. As their gentle, flowing movements continued, a profound weariness, but a wonderfully soft and comforting one, began to settle over me. It wasn't the exhaustion of fatigue, but the deep, satisfying tiredness that comes after a long, peaceful journey into absolute calm. The moon sprites, with their silent, rhythmic dance, were weaving a powerful lullaby, not of sound, but of pure, ethereal motion, guiding me deeper and deeper into the gentle embrace of sleep. As I lay there, peacefully observing the quiet, flowing movements of the moon sprites, it became profoundly clear that their dance was more than just a beautiful spectacle. It was an active force, a gentle current of energy that subtly yet undeniably affected the entire grotto. This was the sprites' magic, not in the dramatic sense of spells or grand illusions, but in the quiet, transformative way their presence enhanced and deepened the tranquility of their moonlit domain. The most immediate effect was on the light. With each graceful swirl and slow ascent of the sprites, the ambient moonlight in the grotto seemed to deepen, becoming richer, more profoundly serene. Their pearlescent glow, instead of simply adding more light, seemed to pull the very essence of the moon into the cavern, saturating the air with an ethereal silver that softened every shadow and made the glowing moss pulse with an even more vibrant emerald. It was as if their dance was stirring the light itself, making it more potent, more soothing, more deeply luminous. The soft, silvery mist that still lingered near the grotto's edges seemed to part and flow in subtle response to their movements. As a sprite drifted by, the mist would gracefully ripple, almost bowing before settling back into its serene shimmer. It was a silent, harmonious interaction, the mist acting as a living canvas for their light, and the sprites, in turn, breathing an even more profound stillness into the ethereal veil. The air became even more exquisitely clear, yet profoundly soft, a breath that felt like pure calm. The plants within the grotto also seemed to respond. The delicate night blooms, whose fragrance filled the air, seemed to open their petals even wider, releasing a more intense yet still gentle wave of their sweet, calming aroma. Their tiny, translucent forms seemed to hum with a subtle energy, their inner light brightening in silent acknowledgement of the sprite's presence. The moss, already vibrant, now appeared to deepen its green, becoming almost velvet-like in its texture, its glow a steady, comforting pulse that spread across the cavern floor. Even the very stone of the grotto seemed to react. The smooth, ancient walls and the hanging stalactites, bathed in the mingling light of moon and sprite, seemed to hum with a gentle, resonant vibration. It wasn't an audible sound, but a deep, felt sense of energy, a profound stillness that resonated through the earth itself. It was as if the sprite's dance was awakening the ancient spirit of the grotto, coaxing it to share its deepest, most comforting peace. The air carried a faint, clean mineral scent, now infused with an even deeper coolness, a refreshing calm that washed over me. The central pool of liquid silver light, which reflected the moon's embrace, was particularly affected. As the sprites danced above it, their luminous forms casting soft, fleeting reflections on its surface, the pool seemed to shimmer with renewed vitality. Gentle circular ripples, not of water, but of pure light, spread outwards from its center, expanding and contracting with the unhurried rhythm of the sprites' dance. It was a mirror of their magic, reflecting and amplifying the serene energy they emanated. My own senses deepened in response to this ambient magic. The subtle hum that filled the grotto now felt like a part of my own being, a resonant chord struck deep within my chest. My breathing, already slow and deep, settled even further, becoming almost imperceptible, a gentle rise and fall that mirrored the effortless flow of the sprites. My body felt profoundly relaxed, every muscle released, every thought gently dissolving into the luminous atmosphere. I was not merely observing, I was experiencing, participating in the gentle transformation of the space. The sprites' magic wasn't about power or control, but about harmony and subtle influence. Their dance created a perfect equilibrium of light, scent, and stillness, weaving together all elements of the grotto into a single cohesive tapestry of peace. It was a quiet demonstration of how beauty and tranquility could arise from effortless presence and gentle movement. There was no beginning or end to their magic, only a continuous, flowing creation of serenity. As their gentle, flowing movements continued, the feeling of profound calm intensified, settling deeper into my bones, into the very core of my being. The grotto was no longer just a beautiful hidden space. It was a living, breathing sanctuary, animated by the moon sprite's quiet magic. This quiet energy washed over me, a wave of pure, unadulterated peace, inviting my mind to finally surrender all wakefulness and drift softly into the embrace of sleep. Every flicker of light, every subtle change in the air, every breath I took was a quiet affirmation of this profound, encompassing tranquility. As the moon sprites continued their gentle, rhythmic dance, their subtle magic weaving through the grotto and deepening its tranquil glow, an overwhelming sense of peace settled over me. It was not merely an absence of worry, but a profound, pervasive calm that permeated every fiber of my being. This peace was deeply intertwined with the feeling of being present, utterly and completely in the here and now, with no past regrets or future anxieties intruding on the serene moment. Every sensation contributed to this heightened state of presence. The soft, cool air against my skin, still carrying the delicate, sweet scent of night blooms and ancient stone, felt exquisitely fresh and clean with each slow, deep breath. The gentle hum that resonated through the grotto now felt like the very pulse of quiet contentment, a comforting vibration that resonated deep within my chest, synchronizing with the slow, steady beat of my own heart. There was no outside world, no external demands, only this perfectly still, perfectly calm space. My gaze, soft and unfocused, simply absorbed the gentle play of light, the pearlescent glow of the moon sprites as they drifted and swirled, the rich emerald luminescence of the moss on the grotto walls and floor, the silvery shimmer of the central light pool, all blended into a harmonious visual symphony. There were no harsh lines, no sharp contrasts, only soft, flowing hues that soothed the eyes and quieted the mind. Each flicker, each subtle shift in light was a gentle reminder to simply observe, to be. The profound silence of the grotto deepened this sense of presence. It was a silence not of emptiness, but of fullness, full of the soft ethereal movements of the sprites, full of the subtle energy that infused the air, full of the quiet beat of my own relaxation. This silence allowed me to hear, or rather to feel, the most delicate nuances of the environment. The almost imperceptible rustle of air currents stirred by the sprite's dance, the distant, soft drip of water from a hidden crevice, sounds so faint they seemed woven into the very fabric of the stillness. All analytical thought had dissolved. My mind felt clear, expansive, and utterly unburdened. There was no need to question, no need to understand, only to experience. The concept of time seemed to stretch and distort, becoming meaningless in this timeless realm. Minutes might have been hours, or moments might have lasted an eternity. It simply didn't matter. There was only the continuous, unending now. My body felt incredibly light, almost buoyant, as if it were gently suspended in the cool, moonlit air. Every muscle was released, every joint loose and at ease. The soft, cushioning moss beneath me felt like a natural bed, perfectly supporting my body and inviting deeper surrender. It was the feeling of being held completely and safely by the ancient, benevolent presence of the grotto itself. This physical ease deepened the mental peace, creating a perfect synergy of relaxation. Watching the gentle, flowing movements of the sprites, I felt a deep connection to their effortless grace. They were embodiments of pure presence, living in the continuous flow of the moment, and their quiet dance was a gentle invitation to join them in that state. Their soft, unhurried spirals and gentle drifts became a visual mantra, guiding my own breathing and consciousness into an ever deeper rhythm of peace. This sense of peace was not fleeting. It was profound and pervasive, settling into the very core of my being. It was the peace that comes from complete surrender, from letting go of all resistance and allowing oneself to be carried by the currents of tranquility. It was the realization that true rest comes not from seeking, but from simply being, from embracing the quiet beauty of the present moment. As I lay there, bathed in the soft, merging lights, breathing the pure, fragrant air, feeling the profound stillness, I felt myself drifting, not just mentally, but physically, into an even deeper state of serenity. The grotto, with its moonlit embrace and the silent dance of the sprites, was a powerful, gentle lullaby. Each passing moment dissolved more tension, smoothed more thought, and guided me further into the deep, restorative calm, ensuring that this feeling of absolute presence would linger long into the quiet depths of the night. As the profound sense of peace deepened within me, anchored by the utter feeling of being present in the moonlit grotto, a subtle shift occurred in my perception. I was no longer merely an observer of the sprite's gentle dance, or a guest in this serene space. Instead, I felt myself joining the quiet observation, becoming an intrinsic part of the scene itself, as seamlessly integrated as the glowing moss on the walls or the soft, shimmering mist in the air. This wasn't a physical transformation, but a merging of consciousness, a gentle dissolution of boundaries between myself and the tranquil environment. My breathing, already slow and deep, now seemed to synchronize perfectly with the almost imperceptible hum of the grotto and with the fluid, unhurried movements of the sprites. Each inhale felt like breathing in the cool, moonlit air and the sweet scent of night blooms, and each exhale was a quiet release, a softening into the pervasive calm. It was as if my very breath had become part of the grotto's peaceful rhythm. The luminous forms of the sprites, drifting and swirling in their silent ballet, no longer felt distant. They felt like extensions of the grotto's own gentle energy, and by extension, of my own quietened awareness. Their pearlescent light mingled with the emerald glow of the moss and the silver sheen of the central light pool, and I felt as though my own being was subtly absorbing these tranquil hues, becoming imbued with their serene radiance. The visual tapestry of light and shadow was no longer something external to be watched, but an enveloping sensation, a visual lullaby felt deep within. The softness of the moss beneath me was now indistinguishable from the sensation of being gently cradled. My body, utterly relaxed and weightless, felt perfectly supported, melting into the yielding surface, as if it were a natural extension of the grotto floor. There was no discomfort, no restlessness, only a profound sense of ease that allowed my consciousness to float freely, unanchored by physical sensation, yet deeply connected to the present moment. My mind, clear and free from any lingering thoughts, experienced a quiet expansion. It was like a still moonlit lake, reflecting the gentle movements of the sprites without disturbance. There was no need to name, to categorize, or to analyze. All concepts, all words had dissolved into a pure, open awareness. This quiet observation was not about intellectual engagement, but about passive absorption, allowing the beauty and tranquility of the grotto to simply be within me. The silence, too, became part of my internal landscape. It wasn't an empty void, but a rich, resonant stillness filled with the delicate symphony of non-sound. The soft, continuous hum, the almost unheard flutter of a sprite's motion, the slow, rhythmic beat of profound peace. It felt like the universe itself was whispering secrets of ultimate rest, and I was listening with every fiber of my being, perfectly attuned to its gentle voice. It was a feeling of profound belonging, of being truly home in this hidden sanctuary. The ancient grotto, with its moonlit embrace, the dancing sprites, the fragrant air, all felt like a part of my own deepest self, a quiet corner of existence where peace reigns supreme. There was no separation, no barrier, only a continuous flow of serenity between the environment and my inner state. As the sprites continued their graceful flowing movements, their silent dance became a reflection of my own internal state, unhurried, effortless, and profoundly peaceful. I found myself drifting even deeper, my awareness gently dissolving into the luminous currents of the grotto. The boundaries between waking and dreaming softened, blurring into a seamless continuum of peaceful existence. The act of joining the quiet observation meant surrendering entirely to the present, allowing the gentle magic of the grotto to permeate my entire being. Every gentle flicker of light, every soft breath of fragrant air, every subtle hum was not just experienced, but became a part of my own quiet, internal rhythm. I was no longer just watching, I was being watched over, held, and guided deeper into the profound rest that this hidden world offered. This feeling of being one with the scene was the ultimate lullaby, promising a night of deep, undisturbed slumber. Having become a gentle part of the quiet observation, truly integrated into the serene scene of the moonlit grotto, I felt as if the very air itself was beginning to share the grotto's secrets. These were not secrets whispered in words, but rather subtle feelings, deep impressions, and whispers of ancient calm that resonated through the profound stillness of the space. It was a communication beyond language, felt deep within the core of my being, a comforting reassurance from the very heart of this hidden world. The ancient stone walls of the grotto, smoothed by countless eons, seemed to hold countless stories, not of events, but of enduring peace. Each curve and crevice, each shimmering vein of glowing moss felt imbued with a deep, timeless wisdom. It was as if the grotto had absorbed the tranquility of every moonlit night it had witnessed, every gentle breeze that had stirred its mist, and was now softly exhaling that accumulated calm into the present moment. I felt this ancient peace flowing into me, dissolving any lingering remnants of the day's hustle, replacing them with a quiet, profound stillness. The moon sprites, continuing their graceful, flowing dance, seemed to be the carriers of these secrets. Their movements were not just beautiful, they were expressions of this ancient calm, each gentle spiral and drift a silent affirmation of enduring peace. As they passed near the glowing moss or hovered above the shimmering light pool, their pearlescent glow seemed to activate a deeper luminescence within these elements, coaxing them to share their quiet energy more fully. It was a dance of revelation, unveiling the grotto's deepest, most soothing truths. The sweet, earthy scent of night bloom, now so familiar and comforting, seemed to deepen with each passing moment, becoming more profound, more saturated with the grotto's ancient essence. It was the fragrance of undisturbed time, of a world that had remained true to its quiet nature through countless ages. Breathing it in, I felt my own breath slow even further, becoming almost imperceptible, a gentle, effortless rhythm that mirrored the timeless pulse of the grotto itself. Each inhale was an absorption of calm, each exhale a release into deeper peace. The gentle hum that had been my guide felt more resonant now, a deep, comforting vibration that seemed to emanate not just from the grotto, but from the very fabric of existence within this sacred space. It was the quiet song of ancient stillness, a lullaby woven from the profound silence and the gentle energies that had accumulated here over millennia. This hum resonated with a deep sense of belonging, assuring me that I was perfectly safe, perfectly at ease within this timeless sanctuary. My mind, clear and expansive, was exquisitely receptive to these quiet revelations. There was no need for thought, no need for conscious interpretation. The grotto's secrets were simply felt, absorbed directly into my awareness as pure, unadulterated peace. It was the understanding that true tranquility is not found in a sudden flash, but in the slow, consistent, gentle presence of quiet beauty, just as it had unfolded gradually around me. I felt a profound connection to the very essence of the grotto, as if its ancient calm was flowing directly into my spirit. It was a sensation of utterly unburdened, of shedding every layer of expectation and obligation, and simply existing in a state of pure, open receptivity. The soft, cushioning moss beneath me seemed to merge with my body, becoming one continuous field of comfort and support, allowing my consciousness to drift deeper into the luminous tranquility. These whispers of ancient calm spoke of the enduring power of nature to soothe and restore, of the quiet strength found in stillness, and of the profound wisdom held within the earth's hidden places. They were not explicit messages, but rather a deep, resonant understanding that settled gently into my being, providing a comforting reassurance that all was truly well, that peace was always accessible. The moon sprites continued their silent, flowing dance, their gentle forms radiating quiet magic, acting as the living embodiments of these ancient secrets. Their presence deepened the grotto's allure, making it a place not just to witness, but to experience the profound depth of natural peace. Each gentle spiral, each slow drift reinforced the timeless rhythm of tranquility that saturated the air. As the grotto shared its deepest secrets through the whispers of ancient calm, I felt myself being drawn deeper and deeper into a state of serene contemplation. The boundaries between waking and dreaming continued to blur, and the weight of deep restorative sleep settled over me, gently but undeniably. The grotto, with its profound stillness and its luminous inhabitants, was indeed the perfect cradle for a peaceful night's rest. As the grotto continued to share its profound secrets, whispered through ancient calm, I felt a new sensation, one of a deeper connection. It was a subtle, yet undeniable feeling, as if the gentle energy that permeated every part of this hidden sanctuary was now flowing directly into me, a silent, comforting current that resonated with the deepest parts of my being. This wasn't merely observing the grotto's peace, it was becoming intrinsically linked to it, feeling its profound stillness and vibrant calm as my own. This gentle energy manifested in various ways. It was present in the cool, fresh air that kissed my skin, carrying the sweet, clean scent of night blooms and damp, ancient stone. With each slow, effortless breath, I felt this energy filling my lungs, circulating through my body, dissolving any remaining tension and replacing it with pure, unadulterated ease. It was a sensation of being utterly cleansed and renewed, as if the very air itself was a balm for the spirit. The glowing moss beneath me and clinging to the grotto walls now felt like a living extension of my own peaceful state. Its vibrant emerald luminescence seemed to pulse in harmony with the gentle beat of my own relaxed heart, a silent, rhythmic exchange of energy. I felt the soft, yielding texture of the moss, not just on my body, but as a comforting presence that seeped into my very core, anchoring me firmly in this moment of profound tranquility. It was as if the earth itself was holding me, nurturing me with its ancient, gentle power. The moon sprites, continuing their graceful, flowing dance, were clearly conduits of this gentle energy. Their pearlescent forms, drifting effortlessly through the air, seemed to draw the essence of moonlight and the grotto's innate calm, radiating it outwards in shimmering waves. As they passed close by, I felt a subtle, almost imperceptible warmth, not of heat, but of pure, comforting presence. It was the feeling of being in the presence of benevolent, ancient beings, sharing their quiet magic without effort or expectation. This deeper connection was profoundly reassuring. It brought with it a sense of belonging that transcended the physical. I was not just in the grotto was in me, its peace and ancient calm settling deeply into my bones, into my thoughts, into the very essence of my being. It was a feeling of profound harmony, a perfect resonance between my inner state and the tranquil world around me. All the fragmented parts of myself felt whole and complete, gently gathered into a single point of serene awareness. The central pool of liquid silver light, the heart of the grotto's moonlit embrace, shimmered with an even greater intensity, reflecting this flow of energy. As the sprites danced around it, gentle ripples of light expanded across its surface, and I felt as though these ripples were extending into my own being, smoothing out any remaining creases of worry or restlessness. It was a visual representation of the gentle, pervasive energy flowing into and through me. My mind, already clear and expansive, became even more receptive, capable of experiencing this gentle energy without analysis or interpretation. It was a purely sensory and emotional experience, felt rather than thought. The profound silence of the grotto allowed this subtle connection to flourish, undisturbed by external noise. It was a silence that spoke volumes, communicating peace, wisdom, and an ancient, unending calm. As I lay there, feeling this gentle energy permeate every cell, I found my awareness gently drifting. The boundary between my conscious self and the serene grotto softened even further, becoming almost non-existent. It was a state of blissful release, of complete surrender to the profound restorative power of this hidden sanctuary. The moon sprite's quiet dance, the glowing moss, the fragrant air, the deep hum, all merged into a single, unified sensation of perfect peace. This deeper connection, this palpable feeling of gentle energy was leading me inexorably towards a state of complete rest. It was the ultimate lullaby, not just for the mind, but for the very soul, inviting me to sink deeper and deeper into the quiet embrace of the grotto. The profound tranquility that enveloped me was a promise of truly peaceful slumber, a night of undisturbed calm, held safely within the heart of this luminous, magical world. With this profound, deeper connection to the grotto's gentle energy now flowing through me, the graceful movements of the moon sprites continued, unfaltering. Their silent ballet had become a timeless, soothing spectacle, weaving an intricate pattern of light and calm that felt like the very fabric of existence in this hidden world. It was a continuous, effortless performance, designed not for an audience, but for the sheer expression of serene being. Each sprite, a pearlescent flicker of moonlight, drifted with an unhurried grace that defied any sense of haste. They ascended slowly towards the high arched ceiling, tracing invisible pathways, their luminous forms seeming to melt into the ambient moonglow before gently descending in soft, meandering curves. They moved in perfect harmony, never colliding, never rushing, their individual movements contributing to a larger, flowing tableau of peace. It was as if time itself had ceased to flow in its usual linear fashion, instead eddying gently around this exquisite dance. The subtle magic they emanated continued to deepen the grotto's tranquility. The emerald glow of the moss on the walls and floor seemed to pulse more vibrantly with each passing sprite, as if awakening to a deeper luminescence. The silvery mist at the grotto's edges rippled in soft waves, a silent applause for the sprite's delicate artistry. The air, already sweet with the scent of night blooms and ancient stone, now felt even more profoundly pure, imbued with the light essence of their ethereal forms. My gaze, soft and unfocused, simply rested upon their effortless flow. There was no need to follow any single sprite, no desire to understand their patterns. It was enough to simply observe the collective beauty, to let their gentle movements wash over me like a calming tide. Each soft drift, each slow turn was a silent whisper of peace, inviting my mind to empty itself further, to release all conscious thought and simply be. The more I watched, the more deeply I sank into a state of profound, unburdened tranquility. The quiet hum that permeated the grotto now felt like the very melody of the sprite's dance, a silent, resonant tone that vibrated through the air and through my own relaxed being. It was the sound of complete contentment, a lullaby woven from pure stillness and the gentle energy of this ancient place. My breathing, already slow and deep, settled even further, becoming almost imperceptible, a gentle rise and fall that mirrored the unhurried grace of the sprites. This timeless, soothing spectacle was the ultimate antidote to restlessness. The continuous, flowing nature of their movements provided a gentle, hypnotic rhythm, perfectly calibrated to soothe the nervous system and quiet the racing mind. There were no surprises, no sudden changes, only the unwavering consistency of pure, unadulterated calm expressed through the dance of light. It was a promise that peace was eternal, always present, always available. I felt myself becoming less a separate entity and more a part of this gentle, luminous scene. My body, utterly relaxed and weightless on the soft moss, seemed to dissolve into the comforting embrace of the grotto. My thoughts, once present, had completely vanished, replaced by a vast, open expanse of awareness. I was simply floating in a sea of soft, blending lights and profound, enveloping calm. The deep connection I felt earlier intensified with each passing moment of their dance. It was a symbiotic relationship. The sprites danced, deepening the grotto's peace, and that deepening peace, in turn, allowed me to sink further into their tranquil world. It was a cycle of serenity, continuously reinforcing itself, leading me deeper and deeper into a state of blissful non-resistance. Every subtle shimmer, every gentle arc of light from the dancing sprites contributed to this overwhelming sense of peace. They were the living embodiments of quietude, their forms pure expressions of unhurried grace. As their dance continued, the boundary between waking and dreaming blurred even further, becoming an indistinguishable line in the soft, luminous air. The grotto, with its moonlit embrace and its inhabitants' ceaseless, gentle dance, was now a perfect cradle for slumber. The timeless, soothing spectacle of the moon sprites was the final gentle push into the deepest layers of rest, promising a night of profound, uninterrupted sleep, held safe within the heart of this ancient, magical sanctuary. The quiet, endless dance of the sprites was the last thing my mind registered as I surrendered fully to the profound calm. As the dance continued, a timeless, soothing spectacle of light and effortless motion, its profound effect on me deepened. I felt myself drifting deeper into calm, a sensation of peaceful surrender washing over my entire being. It was as if every cell in my body was exhaling a sigh of relief, releasing all tension, all holding, and embracing the serene current that flowed through the grotto. The soft, cushioned moss beneath me seemed to become an extension of my own body, yielding perfectly, supporting me in a way that dissolved all awareness of physical boundaries. I felt light, almost weightless, as if gently floating on a warm, invisible current of air. This physical ease allowed my mind to detach further, to simply drift with the quiet currents of the grotto, unburdened by any conscious thought or effort. The gentle hum that had been my constant companion resonated more deeply now, not as an external sound, but as an internal vibration, a pervasive sense of profound stillness that settled into my very core. It was the hum of complete peace, the quiet thrum of a world perfectly at rest. My breathing, already slow and shallow, became even more subtle, a barely perceptible rise and fall, perfectly synchronized with this deep internal rhythm of calm. Each inhale felt like breathing in pure tranquility, and each exhale was a complete release, a letting go of everything. My eyelids, which had been pleasantly heavy, now felt deliciously weighted, settling into a position that gently blurred the edges of the luminous grotto. The pearlescent forms of the moon sprites, still dancing in their soft flowing movements, became more like luminous blurs, soft streaks of light against the emerald and silver backdrop. Their graceful ballet was no longer something to be watched with focused eyes, but rather a gentle visual rhythm felt by the deepest parts of my awareness, a soothing, hypnotic pattern that encouraged my mind to disengage further. The sweet, clean scent of night blooms and ancient stone which permeated the air felt like a soft, comforting blanket wrapped around me. It was a fragrance of profound purity, washing away any lingering sensory input from the outside world, leaving only the tranquil essence of the grotto. This sensory cocoon deepened the feeling of security and peace, allowing my entire system to relax completely. As I drifted deeper, the concept of time became utterly meaningless. There was no past, no future, only an eternal, luminous present. The hustle and demands of daily life, which once seemed so urgent, had completely faded from my awareness, leaving no trace. My mind, once a space of thoughts and worries, was now a vast, open expanse, as still and clear as the central pool of liquid silver light. There was nothing to do, nowhere to be, only to simply exist in this profound state of peace. This drifting deeper into calm was an effortless process, a gentle descent into a state of profound rest. It wasn't a forced relaxation, but a natural, inevitable surrender to the overwhelming tranquility of the grotto. Each subtle shift in the light, each gentle undulation of the sprites, each quiet breath I took served as a soft invitation to let go a little more, to sink further into the comforting embrace of sleep. The entire grotto felt like a living lullaby, every element conspiring to bring about the deepest, most restorative slumber. The ancient stone, the glowing moss, the moonlit air, and the silent dancing sprites were all working in concert, weaving a tapestry of peace that enveloped me completely. I felt completely safe, completely held, utterly at ease, knowing that I was in a place of pure, undisturbed serenity. The effect of this profound calm was not just physical, but touched the very essence of my being. It was a healing balm for the spirit, rejuvenating and restoring. All the stresses and fatigue accumulated over days, weeks, perhaps even months, were gently dissolved, leaving behind only a feeling of profound lightness and peace. I felt a quiet sense of gratitude for this hidden sanctuary, for its gentle magic, and for the deep, restorative rest it offered. The world outside had faded entirely, leaving only the profound, luminous calm of the grotto as I continued my gentle drift.
As I continued drifting deeper into calm, enveloped by the grotto's profound tranquility, a subtle change began to unfold in the graceful dance of the moon sprites. Their luminous forms, which had been so clear and distinct, now seemed to soften even further, their pearlescent glow becoming more diffused, more ethereal. It was a gentle, unhurried shift, signifying the sprite's farewell, a slow, deliberate fading into the moonlit air from which they had emerged. They didn't disappear abruptly, but rather dissolved gradually, like mist curling away with the first soft breath of dawn. One by one, their shimmering outlines softened, their internal light dimming ever so slightly until they became almost indistinguishable from the ambient moonglow and the shimmering air itself. They weren't gone, not entirely, but rather blended back into the essence of the grotto, their presence still felt, though no longer distinctly seen. This gentle fading was not sorrowful, but profoundly peaceful. It was a natural conclusion, a graceful transition, like the quiet closing of a cherished book after a comforting story. Each sprite's departure was like a gentle sigh, releasing its energy back into the quiet hum of the grotto, leaving behind an even deeper residue of calm. The air, already pure and fragrant, felt imbued with an intensified sense of peace, as if the sprites were dissolving into pure tranquility and spreading it throughout the cavern. My gaze, already soft and unfocused, now simply rested upon the areas where they had danced. The light lingered there, a faint iridescent shimmer that seemed to pulse with the residual warmth. It was a visual memory of their exquisite ballet, a silent promise that the peace they had brought would remain. The emerald glow of the moss on the walls and floor seemed to deepen in their wake, holding on to the enhanced luminescence they had stirred, becoming a steady, comforting beacon in the quieting space. The sweet, clean scent of night blooms, which had been so strong, now softened, becoming a faint, elusive whisper, a gentle echo of the profound calm it had delivered. It lingered like a memory, a subtle fragrance that spoke of deep relaxation and undisturbed peace. My breathing, already shallow and rhythmic, became even more subtle, almost imperceptible, as if my body was settling into the deepest possible state of rest, breathing in harmony with the gentle fading of the sprites. The profound silence of the grotto deepened still further, if such a thing were possible. With the active movements of the sprites gently receding, the inherent stillness of the cavern became even more palpable, more enveloping. It was a silence that cradled, a profound quiet that absorbed any lingering external thoughts, allowing my mind to settle into an oceanic calm. The gentle hum, however, remained, now a soft, continuous drone, the background melody of ultimate peace. I felt myself sinking even deeper into the soft moss, my body becoming one with the comforting embrace of the grotto. The feeling of weightlessness intensified, a pleasant sensation of being entirely supported, completely unburdened. All sense of urgency, all connection to the outside world had completely vanished, leaving only the tranquil presence of the grotto and the lingering soft energy of the sprite's farewell. Their gentle fading was the final, soft caress that guided me to the very edge of conscious awareness. It was a perfect completion, a serene culmination of the journey into profound peace. There was no need for grand farewells, only this quiet dissolution, a graceful transition into deeper layers of rest. The luminous traces they left behind were not memories to be analyzed, but feelings to be absorbed, sensations of peace that permeated my very being. As the last hints of their distinct forms melted into the moonlit air, I felt a deep, satisfying peace settle over me, profound and absolute. The grotto, still bathed in its gentle merging lights, felt like the safest, most peaceful place imaginable. The sprites, in their quiet departure, had left behind a legacy of tranquility, a deep stillness that promised to carry me through the entire night. Their farewell was the ultimate lullaby, a quiet whisper that invited full surrender to the gentle, unburdened embrace of deep sleep.
With the moon sprites' graceful farewell completed, their luminous forms gently fading into the grotto's ambient glow, the profound tranquility of the space settled even deeper around me. The active element of their dance had receded, leaving behind an intensified stillness, a quiet peace that seemed to hum in the very air. It was now time for leaving the grotto, not with a sense of ending, but with the comforting knowledge of carrying the peace within. My body, having sunk into the soft, yielding moss, now felt imbued with a deep, pervasive calm. There was no effort in rising, no sensation of movement, but rather a gentle buoyancy that lifted me effortlessly. Each subtle shift of my weight was cushioned by the resilient moss, a silent affirmation of the grotto's enduring support. The feeling of weightlessness lingered, a pleasant sensation that accompanied me as I began my unhurried, almost floating journey towards the entrance. The silvery blue moonlight which had bathed the cavern now felt like a part of my own essence, its cool, calming light imprinted upon my spirit. The vibrant emerald glow of the moss, pulsing steadily on the walls and floor, seemed to radiate from within me, a gentle inner light reflecting the serenity I had absorbed. The grotto itself felt less like an external place and more like an internal state, a sacred space I could now carry within, accessible whenever I needed to find stillness. The sweet, clean scent of night blooms and ancient stone, though now fainter, still lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the profound quietude I had experienced. It was a fragrance that evoked comfort and peace, a sensory anchor that promised to drift with me, ensuring that the tranquility of the grotto remained. My breathing, deep and rhythmic, continued its slow, steady pattern, a testament to the profound relaxation that had settled over my entire being. As I began to move towards the archway through which I had entered, the profound silence of the grotto felt like a constant companion, a rich, enveloping stillness that spoke of timeless wisdom. The gentle hum, too, remained, a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to emanate from the very core of the earth, a soothing lullaby that transcended sound. It was the whisper of ancient calm, deeply felt, deeply understood. There was no urgency in my steps, no desire to hasten my departure. Each movement was deliberate, unhurried, a gentle extension of the grotto's own peaceful pace. I drifted past the smoothed ancient walls, their surfaces still reflecting the soft, diffused moonlight, their forms holding the silent stories of eons of undisturbed peace. The crystal-like formations on the walls shimmered with a subtle farewell, their tiny sparks of light reflecting the profound calm that now flowed within me. Approaching the glowing moss-draped archway, the threshold between the grotto's core and the outer clearing, I felt a gentle sense of transition. The light from the moss intensified slightly here, casting a warm emerald glow that mingled with the silvery moonlight, creating a comforting beacon. It was an invitation to carry the peace I had found outwards into the gentler night beyond. Stepping beneath the archway, the air shifted once more. The soft, silvery mist of the outer clearing gently embraced me, feeling like a familiar, comforting presence. It swirled softly, parting to reveal the path I had traveled, now still glowing with its own inner light. The distant, playful glimmers of light, the sprites from the outer clearing once again appeared among the ancient trees, their faint flickering a quiet welcome back, a soft acknowledgement of the peace I now carried. The transition was seamless, a gentle ebb and flow between layers of tranquility. The powerful, restorative peace of the grotto was not left behind. It was integrated, woven into the very fabric of my awareness. It resided in the deep stillness of my mind, in the effortless rhythm of my breathing, in the profound lightness of my being. The journey back was not a return to wakefulness, but a continuation of the descent into deeper, more profound rest. As I began my slow, unhurried walk back along the glowing path, the sense of carrying the peace within became even more palpable. It was a warmth, a quiet contentment that radiated from my center, spreading through every part of me. The whispering willows seemed to sigh a contented farewell, their branches swaying in a breeze that felt imbued with the grotto's calm. This deep, abiding peace, nurtured within the moonlit grotto, was now my constant companion, guiding me softly towards the deep depths of sleep, ensuring that every moment of the night would be one of profound, undisturbed rest. As I continued my slow, unhurried journey, gently leaving the grotto and carrying the peace within, the path ahead softly unfolded. The whispering willows seemed to sigh a contented farewell, their branches swaying in a breeze that felt imbued with the grotto's profound calm. The subtle inner glow of the path ahead continued to guide me, a gentle beacon through the deepening quiet of the night. This was the final stage of our journey, returning to quiet slumber as the gentle magic of this hidden world drew the entire experience to its serene conclusion. Each soft, cushioned step on the glowing path felt lighter, more ethereal, as if my feet barely touched the ground. The profound stillness that had settled within me radiated outwards, creating a serene bubble of peace that encompassed my immediate surroundings. The air, cool and fresh, continued to carry the faint, lingering scent of night blooms, a subtle reminder of the deep tranquility I had absorbed. My breathing, already slow and rhythmic, settled into an even more imperceptible pattern, a gentle ebb and flow that mirrored the quiet pulse of the world around me. The trees, which had seemed to lean in with ancient secrets, now stood as silent, benevolent sentinels, their forms softened by the ambient glow. The distant, playful glimmers of the outer sprites, once a focal point, now simply blended into the general luminous haze, their gentle flickering a testament to the persistent, quiet magic that pervaded this entire realm. They were no longer distinct points of light, but rather a collective shimmer, a soft, visual hum that contributed to the overwhelming sense of peace. My mind, clear and free from any thoughts or concerns, was now a vast, open space, receptive only to the softest sensations. all the images of the grotto, the shimmering mist, the moonlit embrace, the flowing dance of the sprites, were not distinct memories to be recalled, but rather a pervasive feeling, a deep-seated calm that had settled into the very core of my being. It was a beautiful, dreamlike state, a gentle suspension between wakefulness and the deepest, most restorative sleep. The path began a very gradual, almost imperceptible descent, leading me gently towards what felt like the soft edge of the waking world. But there was no harsh transition, no sudden shift. The light from the path remained consistent, a gentle guiding luminescence that promised only continued serenity. The profound silence, broken only by the almost unheard internal hum, was a constant, comforting presence, wrapping around me like a warm, protective blanket. As I continued my unhurried drift, the pleasant weight in my eyelids deepened. It wasn't fatigue, but a luxurious, welcomed surrender, a natural inclination towards deep rest. My body felt utterly relaxed, every muscle released, every joint loose and at ease. The gentle energy of the grotto that I now carried within coursed through my veins, a warm, soothing current that dissolved any lingering tension and invited complete stillness. The world outside this serene bubble seemed to fade even further, becoming a distant, indistinct whisper, irrelevant to the profound peace that enveloped me. There was only the gentle guidance of the luminous path, the soft embrace of the quiet night, and the growing sense of an inevitable, deeply peaceful slumber. This was the culmination of the journey, the gentle return to the inner sanctuary of sleep. I felt myself sinking, not downwards, but inwards into a profound depth of calm. The moon, unseen above the forest canopy, seemed to extend its soft, encompassing embrace, drawing me deeper into the quietude of its realm. The memory of the sprites, their silent dance, their gentle magic, lingered like a faint, beautiful echo, a final lullaby that guided my consciousness towards ultimate rest. This peaceful conclusion was not an end, but a beginning, the beginning of a night of deep, undisturbed sleep, a complete replenishment of mind, body, and spirit. The journey had fulfilled its promise, leading me from the edges of restlessness to the very heart of tranquility. Sleep approaches, gentle and inviting, a soft, welcoming wave ready to carry me to the shores of undisturbed slumber, cradled by the profound peace I had found. The long, quiet night settles in around us, a vast, soft blanket of comforting darkness. The gentle hum of the grotto's magic still resonates softly, a distant, soothing echo deep within the quiet of your mind. Feel the warmth of your blankets, soft and comforting, gently pressed against you, cradling you. Your breathing has slowed, deepened, each inhale a long, peaceful breath, each exhale a soft, complete release. Feel the air around you, cool and still, carrying only the faintest whisper of that sweet, clean scent from the night blooms, a memory of profound peace. All thoughts, all lingering worries have drifted away like tiny clouds on a quiet breeze, dissolved into the vast, still expanse of the night. You are utterly safe, completely at ease, sinking deeper and deeper into the soft embrace of undisturbed rest. Let your consciousness drift, unburdened, floating gently on the quiet currents of sleep. The grotto's peace is with you, held deep within your heart, a luminous presence that will guide you through the long, quiet hours until dawn. Rest now, softly, deeply, completely. Good night.